non-public, please.
I'll make a motion to go into non-public session under RSA 91-A, colon 3, Roman numeral 2, Steve.
Second by Tony. Joe,
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Tony? Steve?
Yes.
And myself, yes. You all set, John? Thank you. We'll get a motion to exit non-public and seal A, please.
Make a motion
Is
to
it
exit non-public,
reputation?
seal A, reputation.
Second by, Steve? Joe?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Next up. Public input. Anybody for public input? All right, we'll hold that open for 30 minutes, and if anybody comes along within that 30 minutes, we'll allow them to speak. First up for business, our students, our schools, Raymond High School. What is special about Raymond High School?
Yes, this year Tony reached out in his other role, asking if the school could do something for the town report. I reached out to Pete, which reached out, and this is what we came up with.
Good evening.
World premiere?
World premiere.
Good evening. We have Mr. Disco here, our English department head, kind of took on this project for us and worked with the students.
So you can either sign in as yourself or there's actually, that's sorry, just guess, the password's on the computer underneath your hand.
Oh,
We're in this bathroom.
got it.
And then you can log on as
Got
yourself.
it. Yeah, it's already
Sorry.
pulled up here, so.
I didn't know. There we go. Okay. So Mr. Disco worked with a group of our honor students and kind of created what is special about Raymond.
So when I got the request that they were looking for something to go into the town report and to kind of represent RHS, what stood out to me among my classes at the time was the Honors Diverse Perspective, which is a course that we sort of renamed and have brought back. And basically we're looking at literature from authors outside of our own sort of everyday life. So we looked at Indigenous authors. We had, so we read The Help, we read The Marrow Thieves, which is what actually prompted this. So it's a Indigenous Canadian author, and she wrote a story that's based in a dystopian futuristic setting. And we explored her lens, which was very different from something that we see, in our own lens. And so the basic premise is that the world has basically lost their ability to dream, and the white human population was taking the indigenous people's dreams away from them. So they were basically sucking out the marrow of them where the dreams were stored, sorry. And we talked a lot about how that would impact the setting of kind of the everyday life and like what that would be like for us. And so as we started talking about the setting and thinking about our world in relation to what we were looking at in the book, part of this kind of started to lend itself nicely. So the kids created a PowerPoint that they looked at what was special about their setting, kind of their everyday life, which is here. And what was special to them. So you guys did get it ahead of time. I'll just run through kind of a couple of those slides.
Well, the key is also the people at home would then be able to see it.
Yes.
because
Yeah,
that's-
so I won't show every slide, but I'll show a couple of really good ones. So there were students in the class. Not that they were not all good. Unfortunately, right? They weren't able to join me today because a lot of them have jobs and they didn't want to miss their shifts and things. So I'm here on solo, but basically I've been here for over 15 years at this point. And when we started to think about what was special about RHS and from them, this is what we came up with. So Forever Green became a big thing here a couple of years ago, in particular with Mr. Lacasse. He started that with Jumpstart with the incoming 9th grade students. And that's kind of been something that we adopted. So one of our students looked at our goals and what that meant and has a really effective slide about what Forever Green is to us. So that's kind of become the embodiment of the high school. There's a lot of words on the screen. So we did look at the physical location. There's a lot of lore around the tree that is no more here at the high school. And then actually some of the logistics. So part of this was a research-based project too. They were going to find some of the research skills that demonstrate that they could do that, but then also to look up different things about the school. So you've got a little bit more historical, factual things. And again, part of that was being able to show things, even though it may not say, this is what's special about RHS on the internet. How do we find that information and then put that back out there so that it shows what's special about us? So we've got a lot of teachers who've been here for a long time. A lot of students who are pursuing college and vocational programs, over 50%, so it's pretty exciting. This is what fits really well and kind of in with the story that we were reading. So we had a couple students who interviewed teachers, but then also took a poll of their own students and put in a bunch of pictures. So these are things that came out of the direct conversations that the student had with their peers. So RHS is the best, we're better than the rest. That's our chant here at school. There's a lot of pictures of community here, amazing people. So they looked at both teachers and staff, teacher staff, and then also students as well, their own peers. So we looked at Mr. Lacasse, who's been here for a long time. He was a teacher that was interviewed. And so he had some great things to say. Our music community is wonderful here. We also looked at one of our newer teachers who had a very interesting perspective again, which went along with what we were studying in class. Ms. Cooper was an RHS student here and then now is a teacher here. So she had a different lens, which is what we were looking at in terms of voice with the class itself. A little bit into sports, how things have changed. We started with a lot less. We've grown. We've got unified sports now. So the student actually did an interview with Ms. Brazo, who used to be the AD here. Again, some have a little bit less than others. So that was the history of the RAM itself. And then that was who we had on that slide, and there are wonderful sources. So I don't know if you guys have any questions.
Any questions that come?
I have a question.
Sure.
Go ahead. This is what was a large farm. What was the farm?
A large farm.
Yeah, it says the height.
Oh, is that back on the?
Located on a large
location?
farm. That was the farm.
I don't know. I have that actually heard that myself. Urban High School used to be located on a large farm. That's news to me.
I didn't get that in the Friday memo.
I don't know where that came from.
I know who to ask. Don't worry.
Thank you.
I'll get you your answer.
Thank you.
Excellent. You can let me know.
I was going with a tree farm since it seemed to be plenty of trees around at one time, but
There is a reason why the yearbook is called the Pine Cone.
Oh, I did used to know that actually.
Where the middle school is now, there was a lot of pine trees.
Ah,
Now, the tidbit will be to find what year they misspelt their yearbook.
like the name of it or like the word?
name.
yearbook? Oh,
The name,
that's funny.
it's P, as you know, it's PY.
Yes,
They spelt it PI. Whoops.
which,
Well,
you would want to make sure you get that right.
you would think. So anyways.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much and great job for your students. Good
Thank
job.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Shelley. Thanks, Pete.
All right, next up, student representative to school board, Tyler.
Howdy, howdy. It's been a while. I have nothing to report as of late, other than just, that grading system thing. Students are still looking for an update on that.
What?
Students are still looking for an update on that,
I didn't hear, catch
the
it.
grading system.
Okay, thank you.
Issue. But other than that, just keep on keeping on.
You guys had midterms a week and a half ago, right? And,
Those went pretty well.
and is it, do you have something going on at the end of the month?
Break,
Well,
fortunately.
I thought you guys lead into the break with,
Um,
is it Winter Carnival
no,
or is it
Actually,
something?
it's funny, I was at the meeting for that. I don't remember if they wanted to do it after break or
Okay.
before break, but I
Mhm.
think,
It's around the end of the
I think they want to set up like some root beer floats. Because those generate good revenue, so
Yep.
it'll be fun to see those. When they come.
Very good. Thank you, Tyler. Next up, oh, sorry, go ahead, Joe.
we did have an update on the,
Was there?
yeah, I thought there was either on the, I thought it was set separately.
Students watched the video.
Grading?
Yeah, the students saw it, parents got it sent out to them,
Yeah.
messages went out.
I know I saw something on it. One of my
Yeah.
emails.
Was there a decided change then or plan of action?
I guess narrow it down for us, Tyler. What are you looking
So
for?
I
the
remember
update of?
last meeting, there was an idea that the kids that would benefit from the change.
Yep.
would receive the change.
What happened was it happened
Did it?
on, the semester break.
Yep.
And I'll let Mr. Leatherman,
So what happened was the IT department went in and anybody that was affected positively, that got rolled into their semester grade.
Oh.
So if you, let's just say you had a B and would have got a B plus, it was overrode and you got the B plus.
and if you had a B and it maybe should have been a B minus, you kept the B.
You got the B minus.
Okay.
Everything rolled.
I thought we asked the,
Maybe it did say
It was-
B minus. You're right. It only went
Yeah.
up. It only went up. Yep.
because the,
Yep. Yeah, it showed that way. Yep. You're right. I'm sorry. Yep. You're right.
well, I just wanted,
Yep.
so,
That's good to hear.
so nobody, we wanted
Nobody
to
was
change
penalized.
without harm.
Yeah, must have missed that communication.
That's right.
But That's good. That's good.
So roughly how many students per?
I was gonna ask for a
So
rundown.
that was,
Oh, boy. I don't know.
Go ahead, Joe.
that was in the February 2nd Raymond, the high school Raymond night.
Yeah. Boy, I don't know if we could get that data or not now.
We can, if,
Yeah.
that's fine. If we can't, all I'm looking for is how many, for lack of a better way of saying it, benefited. Just curiosity. Anyways. Anything else? Next up. 2024-25 school district calendar. Mr. Leatherman.
Yes, you are presented with the 24-25 proposed calendar, as you recognize or know. The new RSA says that we only can have 10 days that are different from the other schools that send their students to, Cindy, SST, which is, I don't know what it stands for, but it's basically the trade school in Exeter.
School of Technology.
Seacoast School of Technology, which is the trade school where kids go, there. I'll be honest with you, we basically give all our dates that we have to have due to CBAs, all the schools. Meredith, who is the superintendent over in Hampton, Winnicott, she takes and compiles that. And then she basically negotiates with, we were good because we only have the one date that's outlier. That's the Deerfield Fair, where other ones, some superintendents had to move some dates, so everybody got in line. So I think that Epping had to make an adjustment and Sanborn had to make adjustment to a couple dates that they wanted, but they couldn't get. That's kind of where we're at. Joe missed these two.
Any questions, comments on the calendar?
No tabs on them.
I know.
I know
I had to do it myself, sorry.
two dates that are out there for the election. The first one, November 5th. And then the March election on the 11th. The 5th, I'm concerned about parking at the middle school. We're gonna have in-service day there.
Yeah.
Is it possible not to have the in-service there
Yeah,
at a different location at the middle school, just so that parking isn't an issue, because it's gonna be not only is it a general election, but it's the presidential
Presidential.
election too. And of the dates, those are the ones that are gonna be popping.
gonna be busy.
Right. If no other further questions or concerns, go ahead. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, John.
So I'm coming back Thursday and Friday for January.
I mean,
I mean, we have SST that's not going that week.
true. Days that- I mean, if we,
Then that means last day would be the
yeah,
Monday, the 16th.
push out 2 days, we'd have to come back on a
I
Monday.
personally have no issue with coming back on the 1st and 2nd. I mean, the 2nd and 3rd. It's,
Usually we come back the second.
Historically, the last day on a Monday has worked out well.
Are you,
Well, yeah, but you figure 3 days.
well, we're gonna have,
Oh, yeah, that's always great.
we'll have one or two.
We'll say one or two. It's at least Wednesday, Thursday.
56% took Monday off last, something.
In my mind, I think we should, because we won't get dinged for, we just gotta end up a couple days later, is having the 2nd and 3rd off.
I guess, what is the issue with coming back on the 2nd? We do it every year.
There's only 2 days left, and I think a lot of 8th grade and lower are just gonna sit there and take the day. And
Well,
SST, you're kind of dinging them because they're gonna have to make up those days for SST.
well, if
What are they gonna do here?
if the concern is it's only a 2-day week, then Thanksgiving should be a full week, because we only 2 days that week. I mean, to me, I've never heard complaints about when we start after December. I hear complaints about how late we get into June. I'll say that. So having said that, if anybody wants to make a motion or
I'll make a motion to sit there and add January 2nd and 3rd on have those 2 days off. And add them to the end of the year. Because right now we have SST that's doing, I mean, what are we gonna do with our SST kids?
okay, is there a second, then we can have discussion?
I'll second.
You asked the question, what do we do on the other days? With those high school students that are SST that don't have SST day, I mean, school, when we have it, the same thing, that's the way I look at it, I mean, we can't be perfectly lined up with SST. Because I certainly know the 800-pound gorilla doesn't consult with us. Anything else? All those in favor of Joe's motion?
Okay, what was the motion?
To
Oh,
add,
to take the 2 days off.
And then it's implied that then the last 2 days are, well, the last day then would move to the 16th, but, so, I'll say it again, all those in favor? Okay, opposed? All right, we get a motion to approve the calendar as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the calendar as presented.
Get a second? A second. By Tony, all those in favor? I didn't see, Cindy, you voted.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion is unanimous. Passes unanimously, I should say. All right. Next up. Superintendent evaluation dates. We need to, by policy, get the review to have Terry's evaluation done and presented to Terry by the 7th of March. So my thinking is just a starting point. If we could meet the 28th, which is the last Wednesday of February. And, work on, or that's when we would go over the evaluation as a group. Obviously, it would need to be to me before that, but I wanted to establish the date that we're gonna meet before we worry about when it needs to get back to me.
I will be in North Carolina
That week,
that week, the whole week.
okay.
what day did you want to have go again?
I was asking the 28th, which is the last Wednesday. Just to try to, because it being the 7th doesn't give us a lot of time to.
Yeah.
All right. That week, around the 20th is. I don't know. Is this school the 19th? Tony's not available. I don't have to worry about that either.
Wait,
No,
Monday the
our
19th.
week vacation is the next week.
No, there's no school that Monday.
Monday the 19th?
The
19th, well,
There's no
the
school.
19th, 2021. Is that, no, my bad.
I was gonna say.
I'm so sorry. I'm in the wrong week. There
I know.
is school on the 19th.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I couldn't
Yep.
remember. I know we have the following.
Yep, we have the following week.
Yeah.
That's right.
We,
We have school on President's Day. I thought that was,
All right.
sorry.
So I guess, what do we want to do? Because I'll be honest, candidates night is scheduled for the 20th. Snow date is the 22nd. We have a board meeting on the 21st. Monday, the 19th doesn't, I know probably almost definitely doesn't work for Tony. And I don't think I'll be available. I'll be ready to do it next week. So what do we want to do? Knowing that we have to get it to,
Does it have to be on a completely different day? Can we just?
that's why I was mentioning
after
the
meeting,
19th.
21st?
So we, would, oh gosh, pushing the timeline. The 5th, March 5th. That's a Tuesday night?
It's February 19th, you're saying?
No, March. 5th.
We can't do it like the 21st after the meeting.
No,
he's gonna be gone for
So the first, I'm okay, the 28th.
I'm sorry. I would anticipate, I don't know what that looks like, but my guess is I don't think we want to back ourselves into a position to have to rush through it to get out on
Oh.
time. And I don't know what the agenda looks like at this point, because we haven't even, we're gonna meet next week on it, so I always am leery of Sometimes it takes us a while and sometimes we a little more efficient, but and that's my concern, Cindy, about doing it that night.
Yeah, I would be too, but I'm just saying, I'd
So,
rather do a long night than
I also
Worry
know
about
that
two
once 10
different
o'clock
things.
comes, we kind of have a tendency
fizzle
to
out. Yeah.
fizzle out and or let's get this.
Does candidates night usually run long?
It goes from
We
7
have
to
a lot
9.
of candidates this year.
Okay, we do. I wasn't sure if maybe we could back it up there, but if it's 7 to 9, that's too long.
How about March 5th? That's the other option.
My only thing is my daughter's due to have a baby around that time, so we have no clue what's gonna happen.
Okay.
Between what babysitting or being there.
Yep. So what's
Just
the
do
board?
whatever needs to be done. We'll work it out.
So you okay with the 5th and it just,
Yeah,
okay. Does
just
that work for everybody else?
What day is that?
Tuesday the 5th?
baby's actually being born, I might not. be.
Well, yeah, there are more important things in the
I
world,
can
yeah.
get a babysitter, but I.
Yep.
We have a regular meeting on the 6th too, right? That Wednesday.
That's correct.
Yeah, Tuesday's fine for me.
Joe, you all set? Yep.
So March 5th.
What time are we doing? 6 or 7?
6, if that works for everybody. All right. So having said that, if I could have everybody's evaluation to me by 5 o'clock on the 1st. Does that work for everybody? That's the Friday. All right. The other
So where
question,
do we get that from? Is it gonna be
I
online and we
will-
print it out?
I work with Jen and Jen will get it.
I think last time we came, we got packets.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And what will happen is you guys will just send it to me and I'll tabulate the results and then we'll go from there.
That's what it first.
And then on the 5th, we're gonna meet to go over it.
Correct. And then you and I, Tony, need to set up a time with Terry at another time to, get it to him. All right? That work with your schedule? Because we're only giving 2 days, Terry, or you?
Oh.
Okay.
And that's gonna have to be before.
Before the 7th, means the next day.
Until election day.
The 12th, excuse me. All right,
I'll have to.
all right. Next up. New revised policy first reading. The first one is EBCE, Emergency School and District Closing. This is a revise and recode. And again, this one is the match the New Hampshire School Board Association policy. We did add one thing to the New Hampshire School Board Association. Part of policy K, our policy KF-R, which is public use of school facilities. We added that last, I don't remember if it's a letter or a number, but the last thing there is in reference to how we handle, if it's an inclement day weather-wise, if no after-school activities, it's up to basically the superintendent and the town manager to work out whether there are gonna be meetings or town meetings at our schools that night.
Actually come up recently.
Yes.
On me every time. I'm like, your decision.
Well, I mean, so the thing there was that I think a lot of people would be under the impression that if school was closed because of weather, then so everything would be,
That's fine.
that's the safe bet to me is to just cancel in that event. So
Yep.
it's not up to me. I just go,
Go with the flow. Any other questions, comments on EBCE? All right. Next up, policy EBCE-R, and this is to redact because it's redundant. I'm sorry, what?
Techie problems.
Technical issues.
Okay.
2% and it's been plugged in all this time.
Got it. Let me know when you're ready. And you have a question about the policy, Joe, or are you all?
No.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
I'll say real quick, I like the way you did the last cancellation, where you did it kind of as a potential delay, potential cancellation. I think that was a perfect blend for folks who need to prep, but we weren't sure where we were at. That's it. Just, I like that a lot.
could you lay down some odds for those of us that like
What'd you say?
Could you lay down to mods next time? Since those of us that like to.
Tony, if you need a.
It was 50.
I know a guy.
All right.
Cindy, if you want, I can give you my packet and it's got basically all paper copies for everything. If you
I've
want it.
looked through everything, but I like it.
Do you need?
I don't-
extension
absolutely.
cord?
I
know
think
that charging
it's
stuff.
just it might be just the charging cord. Because it's not charging. But it's on 2%. I don't know how it's on
Get the
2%.
the cable. It's not the plug that we have.
Okay.
All right, next up. All right, the EEA R Student Transportation Services, and this is a revision. We tried to make this reflect how we do things in present day. And I'm not sure how well we did with the wording. So if anybody wants to add anything, or it's at the end, it's the, when we post and when we don't post on the website. And that's what we were trying to capture. It's on page 4 of 4 where we made those changes. So yeah, I'm assuming everybody's all set. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
All right, next up is policy JFABB-R, admission of foreign exchange students. Is a revised policy represents the New Hampshire School Board Association in its entirety. Questions, comments on JFABB-R?
Oh, it's happier.
Okay, next up. JLDB, suicide prevention and response, and this is a revise and recode. This is an effort to match the New Hampshire School Board Association policy. Questions or comments on JLDB, which will then become, I think, 2 Bs at the end as opposed to the one that we have now. Go ahead.
I look at my sons today, but I believe it says on the back of our student IDs already. So
We have the stickers, yeah.
Yeah.
The phone number or whatever it is, yep.
how's it?
All right, next up, policy JLDB-R, suicide prevention and response, the procedure. We're asking to redact. New Hampshire School Board Association doesn't have this. Sam Horgan met with Terry and agreed that it was a duplicate of what we already have in policy. Questions, comments about redacting that JLDB-R? All right. We'll get a second reading next time we come around. Next up, new revised policies, second reading. None of these had changes from the first reading. The first policy is EHAB, data governance and security. If I can get a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept policy EHAB, data governance and security.
Get a second.
Second.
Second by Cindy. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Next up, policy IMBA, distance education. Get a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept policy IMBA, distance education.
Get a second.
Second.
Second by Cindy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Next up, policy JFAA-R, admission of resident students. This is to redact.
I'll make a motion to redact policy JFAA
-R.
admission of resident students.
Second.
Second.
Second by Cindy. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, everybody. Nominations/resignations, Mr. Leatherman.
I do have one nomination, Carl Gregory, tech ed teacher, Raymond High School.
Get a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion to accept Carl Gregory for the tech ed position.
Get a second?
Second.
Second by Tony.
Can have it. All right.
You got it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously, and we have a resignation.
I do, Crystal Fournier, an high school social worker, effective March 4th, 2024.
Get a motion to accept her resignation.
I'll make a motion to accept the resignation of Crystal Fournier, RHS social worker, effective March 4th, 2024.
I'll second.
Second by Tony. Excuse me. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Strategic plan update, Terry?
Yes, it's culture and climate. The first one, bullet is the student intervention teams at the 3 schools will analyze the Swiss conduct data and incorporate restorative practices with the outlined consequences of our code of conduct. Currently, admin is scheduling a workshop on restorative practices for the summer for the admin team. We're also looking at scheduling several summer workshops for staff on responsive classroom. And currently, I'd say that we just met on this too, and the admin is doing a fantastic job of restorative practices across the district. So that's come a long way. And the reason we're looking at responsive classroom is we've got a lot of new staff. It's time to give them the new, get them
Update.
what do I want to say, the beginning workshop, and then we do follow up some other staff. So we're looking at using some of our Title II money to pay for the presenters and also to pay the staff to come in over the summer.
Question on the restorative practice for the summer, and who is that geared for?
That will be an admin, again, the more depth than what we have. So that would be for us to start with, and then we take it back to the staff.
Okay.
And we're, again, we're looking at, we've already booked one trusted adult for half a day for this next coming school year and opening day. So we've already got a guest speaker for it's booked for, I don't know what day it is, October 20th.
I'm not worried.
So we've got somebody coming in too to talk to the staff about that one trusted adult,
And that'll be the entire staff or?
entire staff.
Great.
Can I make a comment on that?
Yeah.
So my only issue with that was, and they did that when my son was in school, the availability of that trusted adult needs to be
Absolutely.
there. Like, not an hour a week or every other week, or however they did it there. Like, if that's that person's trusted adult and they're having a situation, I think, we need to try to facilitate access to that person
I agree. And I always.
at any point in time.
Yep, and I agree that certain students, not everybody's equal. So certain students are gonna need that trusted adult more. And we might want to take an individual who's working with that student more often to become that trusted adult. So we might persuade or
They already
sway
have
or,
access to.
yep. So we don't, I hate to say this, certain instances, the PE teacher can't be that trusted adult for certain students.
Right.
Just because their availability. So we have to think outside the box to make sure that that individual is available. Behavior, the next bullet is the behavior advisory team. Truancy team will provide baseline data for daily attendance, as well as the school refusal when students are in school, collaboration of all 3 levels. I did gather our attendance data from last year. Attendance letters have been going out. They're not as frequent. I can honestly say that last year, all we did was talk truancy, kids coming into school, getting the kids into school. And it's almost like it's weird that it's shifted. We're not as focused on that. We still have students who don't come to school, but the numbers are not as large. I looked at year-to-date data and year-end data, current data, and we're below where we were last year. I think some of that can be attributed to in our change in policy and the fact that a parent can call a kid up and excuse a kid. So that makes it an excused absence. In the past, if they didn't send a note in, it was unexcused. So while we still have parents who constantly doing that, once they hit a certain number, it's 10 absences, the principal can say, again, kid breaks his arm, kid has surgery. We know they're going to miss more than 10 days. So again, it's not a blanket statement. But when the principal knows that a student is being truant, they can look at the parent and say, hey, for this student, for this absent to be excused, I need a doctor's note. So we put it more of not a general blanket. So there's that, the principals have some wiggle room in how they do it. So our unexcused absences have really dropped. There's still absences, but most of them are excused. However, when I look at our data from last year, we really weren't that bad. I've got it posted here. Raymond's first, and then the state for preschool, we were at 90%. The state was at 87. Kindergarten was 90%. The state was 92. The elementary was 90%. State was 92. Middle school was 92. State was at 92. High school was at 88. State was at 90 for a total of, we were at 91.3 and the state was at 92.3. So we're just 1% off of the state average. I would like to be higher than the state average. I'm not going to lie.
1% is what, like 6 kids?
Yeah, we're not, well, maybe a little more, but you're right. It's in the ballpark. It's maybe a little more than that. But again, I think when you take the number of days, it's quite a larger number than that because you got to take every student every day.
Every day, yeah.
Start, and it multiplies itself out.
3, 4, 3. I mean,
Yeah, but
not a lot.
I just want to say it's not as bad as I think the impression was that I was getting when we were here.
That's what I'm saying.
When we did this
Saying
plan.
It's like 3 kids.
Yeah.
4 kids.
So, I've asked Sam to follow up with the schools on attendance. And again, as I mentioned before, it's not a topic that's coming up in our SIT meetings of the number of kids who aren't coming to school. We still have some, but and we're not ignoring them. It's just not as prevalent as I must say before.
Could we have in the final memo the half year attendance?
Yep, I can get that. I actually was trying to figure out percentages, but I can get you half here.
Yeah. Thank you.
The district will exit surveys. Well, that's going to be the end of the year, so there's really no update on that. Culture and climate, Karen and I, basically Karen, but she shared it out to myself, Sam, Jody. We do have a culture and climate survey that we're going to be sending out right out before February break.
One of the things, exit surveys for us, year round. We have people coming and go.
Yeah.
So I hope we're continuing to, as people leave, regardless of when, we're still asking for exit interviews and asking at least to do a survey or both, right? Because I think it's important to get that feedback, right? Go ahead, Cindy.
What would be on that survey? What are some of the questions?
Did you feel supported by administration? Why are you leaving? What could have been done better? What did you like about this place? What you didn't like about this place? Pretty generic, but gives you an overall impact of where you're at and what you're doing.
Do people usually fill
I
out?
had 6 people do it.
Okay.
Yeah, the numbers.
Like, nah, I'm good. Most of them, when I did it, money. They went for better paying jobs. I think we had one that was disgruntled. I knew why, so duh. I'd say it. Yeah, I would have been disgruntled too.
Yeah, 3 employees did the interviews and 6 completed the survey. This was back in October, the update.
Yep.
Go ahead, Joe.
This is going out to everybody, right?
What?
This culture and climate survey?
Staff, it's for the staff. Yeah,
Well, that's everybody.
yeah, yes,
Most everybody.
yeah.
And is it gonna be more like the exit survey or is it open?
It's more in depth, yes and no questions with some feedback.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right. Anything else you want to add, Terry? before we Move on.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Do students take any kind of survey like that?
I think it's just that, I'd have to ask Tony, I know with Karen, but I think it's basically staff right now.
Should we give one to the students?
We would have to ask permission. Because it's not a academic survey.
But the youth risk behavior.
That's one that's the state says you can give.
Yep. That's the exception to the rule.
Yeah.
As it were.
Yeah.
On our strategic plan, are we asking, is it on there to ask the students? Because I
No,
think it
just
should
staff.
be.
It was just staff.
I think Tony's got something that,
And they.
Yeah.
you know, if we could look at maybe next year, maybe?
Yeah.
That make, I mean, I don't know,
End of the school year.
maybe they're all,
Year end,
Well, I'd ask them mid-year when they're a little bit more happy to be here than in the end.
wait a minute.
January 3rd. No, I guess
Second, the day they come back on that Thursday.
19th or whatever that Monday is.
Yeah. Some prime days there.
all
I
right.
do it one the day after I buy everybody an ice cream.
there you go.
There you go. That's what. All right, next up, administrative job descriptions update, the director of technology.
Look at you.
It's all on you. Go. Just outlines the job expectations. I don't know if we outlined it in red what changed.
I didn't see it. I was looking for that myself.
Yeah.
Well, what it is there's the job description is the old and new. There's 2, so it's not redlined or anything because they're very different. So basically you redline one and see the other, so. If I hear nothing, then if I get a motion to approve the revised job description for Director of Technology,
I have a question.
go ahead.
The cognitive and sensory requirements, you can't separate tasting and smelling. They have to go together.
Where are we at? Which
You're
bullet?
gonna be at the bottom.
I don't even know why they got to taste and smell.
Well, what if,
I'm sure that's.
what if he lost his
Um,
taste because of COVID or she, but can still smell? Then what do you do?
Usually they go together.
Mm.
If you can't smell, you can't taste, and if you
Tony, what,
I burned my
Yeah.
taste buds off.
It's on the director of tech. It's
Yeah, it's the
page
job description.
Page 3 of
3.
cognitive and sensory at the top.
Computers.
Terry.
In case you put the wrong two wires together.
Well, yeah, you're not
Smell what you're
burning
burning this.
this is everybody's.
I would,
Yeah.
I would,
This is on every single one.
we're gonna have to go through that. I'd hate to discriminate against people that might.
Crouching.
Sense of taste.
I mean,
Now,
if
All right,
it's not,
let's just be derailing the meeting.
It just says,
We can proceed.
it just says necessary for doing this job effectively. I mean, if you were
Okay.
tasting, if you couldn't taste the meal that you're
that, Joe,
preparing, that might.
every one of them's on there.
Well, that's what I mean.
That's a,
But it says
that's a
it's for this
blanket,
job, so.
whatchamacallit.
I think that's discrimination if you can't taste or smell.
You want to
Right.
revisit it at another day?
Your
Well, no,
call.
smell is diesel. Like, again, if you're working with electronics, you want to be able to smell. That's gonna be something you want to be able to do. You're burning stuff or things are going wrong, but you don't need to taste. There's no taste involved.
Battery.
That's right.
You're not tasting
Yeah,
it.
you are if you don't have it, you gotta get, put it on the old tongue and get a whack.
Make those batteries bitter now so kids don't swallow them. Don't like, they're not supposed to taste them.
So you want to revisit the tasting part on all of them later date?
Yeah, we can have the policy committee look at that. I don't know.
Not the policy, it's
Terry,
Terry.
It's Perry,
And his, and his,
bring the vending machine in.
this is necessary. Yeah.
If they put, no, they can't taste, then
Right,
you.
battery. Oh, not battery.
I see Terry in
Taste
the
and
office.
smell.
Yeah, that was good.
oh, boy. This is taking a U-turn.
Yeah.
All right, we get a motion to approve the updated job description for Director of Technology.
I will make a motion to approve the job description for Director of Technology. Updated job.
Get a second? By Cindy. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Sort of.
Motion passes unanimously. That was easier said than that. All right. Raymond High School seniors' last day of school. We had talked about when we were establishing graduation date, when would we wanted to have the last day for seniors? And now we have the information in front of us as to what that week it looks like as the, who has mapped this out? Was it?
Crystal, no, Renee and, Pete. Renee, who's the senior advisor.
I still am one to, I'd like the seniors to be here until the 4th. We're here to educate. All these other things are nice, but they don't have to be done. They can consolidate that into 3 days. Again, last day of school right now is the 14th, Friday. They're gonna be missing 10 days. Now granted, we've said the 7th was graduation, so they're gonna miss obviously that, but, so that's where I'm at. Anybody else?
I'm good the way it is.
Way it's presented? Yep.
Just so I'm reading, make sure I'm reading this. If we move it to the 31st, the way it's presented here, they still have all the hours they need. It's not like they're missing hours.
Yeah, but I'm one to maximize every hour we can. Because we're in the business of educating, not the business of other things.
Speaking on behalf of seniors,
Sure.
most seniors would probably agree that the earlier they get out, the better. Which is no surprise, I'm sure, but
I'm gonna write that down.
As long as they're working.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. And I said this last time when we had the conversation, my guess is the seniors aren't gonna.
Yeah.
Obviously, the seniors are
the
gonna.
sooner they're out of there, the happier they are.
Yeah, no way.
So just so I'm clear, what we're talking about
In
is,
high school at one point, so. Go ahead, Steve.
sorry, we're talking about the Monday and the Tuesday is the difference, really. Whether or not they have classes on the 3rd and 4th, or they do these activities on the
What the difference would be as opposed to the 3rd and 4th would be the last 2 days of finals.
finals.
As opposed to the senior breakfast. I don't know if I like that idea.
Well, I don't know, they can reschedule, in my mind, they can reschedule them, but again, I'm one to, we're here for education. And we should be maximizing, in my opinion, the opportunities that we're presented with for education. All right, if we get a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to accept the senior's last day of school as presented.
Is what?
As presented.
So the 31st. Second by Cindy. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed?
You almost threw it up there,
I
John.
know, I.
All right, so it was passed 4-1 and John was a nay.
So is this activity week mandatory or can they just say, hey, see you later?
Oh,
I'm done on the 31st. You can have your kickball game and breakfast,
kind of, yes. But they could do that anyways.
but there's no ramification.
No,
Well, I think they can.
They're marked absent.
If they walk or not,
Yeah.
how much they participate in some of the
Well, if
activities, I
they come
think.
for practice.
I would say that last year, I can only speak to last year, attendance was at 85-90%.
Again, but there's no consequences. for it.
Well, you're marked absent, and again, if you're not showing up, again, it would take a lot.
You're marked absent.
It would almost take a lot to get a kid not to walk.
So how are you marked absent when technically the last day of school for seniors would be the 31st?
Yeah. Last day of classes.
Oh, okay.
Granted,
Don't miss the kickball game.
with the last day of class is the 31st, anybody who might need a little help.
That's
Making
another
it
thing
the
too, is we
graduation has a
will
whole
have
week to
some
make
kids
that up.
needing some competency recovery so that we can get them to graduate. Well, I know that last year we had a couple kids, we were working hard to get them to graduate. Not a lot, but a couple.
All right, moving on. Administrator employment contracts. Joe, it has to have this brought up, so go ahead, Joe.
As most of you may know, we've been running on year-to-year contracts, and I've heard the pros and cons of it. Of the single-year contracts. I also believe if we have somebody people who we like, we believe we should be moving forward with, to give them the security to have a multi-year contract, to say, okay, this is what it is, it's how much I'm gonna get paid. You can even have, the raises just like the town manager does. I mean, his actually has raises, I think, attached to it every year. But just so that you have the stability of sitting there going, okay, I know what I'm gonna get for the next 3 years. Tuesday doesn't really make any sense to me, but 3 years. I mean, instead of constantly saying, okay, it's April, whatever, I'm not even looking because I don't know if I'm gonna be here next year or not. Also I think psychologically, people tend to stay if they know they have a contract here and they know they're gonna be here. They're not in the back of their mind just looking to look every single year. And there are other districts that do get multi-year contracts as well.
I would imagine it would take a certain amount of stress off someone too, if they know, okay, if I'm in, I have 3 years before I have to think, or 2.5 before I have to think about that again.
Yeah, I mean, especially the people who want to stay here.
They can run in for a 1-year term on a board.
Yeah, who would do that?
All set, Joe?
Yeah.
Anybody want to weigh in?
Is there any laws that would prohibit or cap the amount of time you can?
Not that I'm aware of. For example, Terry's got a 3-year. He's in a 3-year contract.
So we're talking principals and other administrators specifically?
Yeah. So administrators per se.
So you're not limiting it. Any administrator.
Well, I leave it more up to the superintendent's discretion to come to the board with those, or those individuals that he may or may not deem, but I mean, I'm not gonna do it myself right now.
Look, John.
Terry.
Are you asking for it to have are you asking for have it as an option?
Yeah.
Or just that it'll be the
You
standard?
come out of your rookie deal and you're going on to your next contract. Is it gonna be a 1-year deal or is it gonna be?
I really can't say right now, well, let's make it this, I mean, because it's not like we have a ton of administrators here.
For me, I would, that option is there currently. if we so desire. I know of at least one instance in my time on the board that was done, where an individual was given a 2-year contract. It wasn't the superintendent. But I also know that unfortunately contracts pretty much are one way. In that, if I'm an administrator, I pretty much, if I decide to give you guys, the board, the notice, not much you can hold me back to from doing it. However, if we're locked into a 2-3 year contract and for whatever reason it's not working out, it's very difficult to remove said individual. So again, it's not widespread that I'm aware of, unless Joe has data that states otherwise, that most part administrators are given 1-year contracts. Right, wrong, or indifferent. I think that if there's unique circumstances where the superintendent says to us, geez, we want to do something different with this particular individual, I have no problem having that discussion, but I don't think it should be the norm to do that. Because we get locked in and it's, like I said, pretty much one way.
Right, it's a lot harder for us to relieve ourselves of them as it is for them to do to us, right?
Yep. Yeah, so if for whatever reason, obviously, we're giving somebody a contract for longer than a year. We know the individual and we think that person's gonna be productive for us for that period of time. However, 6 months after doing that, now that we've got 18 months left on a 2-year, they're not performing. It's not as easy as to remove that individual, and that's my concern. One of my concerns. Anybody else?
Is there nothing in our contracts that is a performance clause? I mean, is there nothing in our contracts that allows us to say for non-performance, this can be terminated by us?
Our attorneys advise us.
On this one?
No, or on our current contracts that we have. Can we stop somebody from saying, I'm done and
Basically, administrators work under the same thing as teachers do. They can get tenure. So you really don't need a reason unless they've been tenured somewhere else. So basically the tenure rule is 3 and 5. If I was to come here as a principal, I was tenured in Barrington. So once my 3rd year, I get tenured. It takes a lot more to get rid of me. It can't be just because it's not working out. So basically administrators do work under that same jargon. So I'm thinking of who we have right now, Tom, and I'd have to say too, he's at the same role. He's going from AP to principal. So I don't know if that tenure would apply because it's a different role. But let's just say Tom Walden was in Dover he was in there for 9-10 years. He came here in year 3, he'd be tenured. So it takes a little more. You got to have just costs. So basically you'd have to document like you would a teacher performance, plan the whole 9 yards.
Right.
Whereas, before that, just not working out.
Anybody else?
Good. What do you want to do, Jim? You want to make a motion or do you? Because again, the option is currently there for the superintendent to come to us and ask us that. It's not like it doesn't exist.
Wasn't expecting to make a motion because there's no particular person or people that we're gonna be.
No,
I mean, it is,
I was asking because you would
it is.
ask for action on it, so I just
I just
wanted to be.
Well, I wanted to put out there to see what the rest of the board feels. That way. Again, in my mind, we can sit there and structure. I mean, we don't. John would, we've had a couple, not recently, but we've had a couple administrative that have been here more than 3 years. But I never even heard the word tenure come out of anything.
We have administrators that are significant time with us currently.
But have you ever heard the word tenure come out of it at all? I mean.
No, but I'm not gonna listen. No.
I mean,
Right, Cindy.
if they may feel, I'm sorry, one more minute.
Go ahead.
I mean, like you said, in Barrington, it was kind of a thing that, you can't just kick that, but.
Yeah.
Not, as far as I know, that doesn't exist here.
I'd have to look because that was the lawyer advice we got. So I'll ask Mike. I'll write a memo.
I just have.
Go ahead.
So if you're saying it exists, is it only existing if we offer it, or can the person actually ask for it?
Oh, I'm sure if you had somebody administrative, they could ask for it. Doesn't mean we have to give it.
Right,
There's nothing preventing
They can.
anybody from asking. They could ask for $1 million contract.
right.
I mean, I just did that so that but anything can be asked
They can
for,
request
whether
it.
we,
And it's available, like if they said, hey, could I do a 3-year
like
contract?
I said, in the time that I've been on the board, I can think of one time that it was, I can't speak to why it was done, but it was done. But
I'll say then, just based on what Joe said, because he's trying to get a sense, I agree if if it's already an option and it's something that would, like, if Terry brought it to us, I would be in favor of, in the right situations, multi-year contracts. So if that, I don't know if that's kind of what you were looking for officially, Joe, but I would be on board with that in certain situations, because we do have folks that we want to keep. We want to make sure that they feel safe enough to stay. We have talked a lot about turnover here. So if we can prevent some of that with folks that we would like to keep, and we can do that with a multi-year contract, then I would be supportive of that if it was brought forward, depending on the situations.
Good.
I mean, just as the multi-year contract, I mean, I understand that. You know, if you're working on a 1-year contract, just like if you're a football coach or anything like that, just they're going, do I want to just go with the flow? Or if I have a really good idea and I want to try something here, am I gonna extend myself out there with, it might not work. But if it doesn't work out and I just didn't go with the flow, now my job's at risk because, I tried this new idea that I brought to the board or something like that, and the next board, he said, well, it's failed, give out. Where I'd like this, I mean, I don't want to stifle people from doing something that may turn out to be a great idea just because they're nervous about doing it as well. I want them to sit there and say, in my mind, the multi-year contract says, we believe in you right now. We want you here. And, here and even in the real world, there, when you have that sort of support and back of you, it means something to people. And I think it really helps create something of it in the environment that we're in. The real world too, that, hey, you can be let go at any time as well. And I think we'd have to structure our, contracts accordingly to make sure we're covered in both ends,
I think we've had an answer on this question in recent memory. And my recollection is the attorneys basically said, we don't have much to stand on keeping somebody or releasing somebody. But anyway. So, do you have what you're looking for, Joe?
Mhm.
It's yours, so I just want to make sure.
I'm good. I mean,
Terry, how do you feel about being put in the position where some are and some aren't?
Well, kind of look at it too. I'm kind of in that position too, and I determine, the raises too. So,
Well, that's by performance though.
well, it's still the same thing. People are upset when they don't get the same as somebody else, and you got to explain that to them. I know it's same thing. So to me, it's same thing.
Good
This
luck.
person got it for this, and this person, you didn't get it because of that. So you didn't get this raise, and that person got that raise. I think right now
If hypothetically, we've got 6 administrators performing excellent and you choose, okay, we're going to get 4 of you.
well, I hope I wouldn't do that. Because then I would say that 2 of them aren't performing excellent.
Then again, okay,
I'm just,
just, okay. Anything else from anybody? Right. Next up. So we don't do an acronym, behavioral, board certified behavior analyst position,
oh, well done.
contract job salary. We had talked about this when, I don't know if it was Sam or Jody was here, and we had talked about that, geez, there wasn't anybody we haven't been able to get a
Yeah.
qualified candidates. And the question came up, okay, what is it that's holding us back? Money.
Salary.
So we asked Terry to come back to us with what would it take, what we thought we could get to, whether that's gonna give us somebody, I don't know. But he's got information here as to what it costs us now to have a,
And I'm gonna be honest with you, John,
okay, go ahead.
that current rate at the bottom is low because the individual we have working as our BA isn't fully certified. I mean, she can do the job, but she's like an intern. So she's supervised by her boss, which she's phenomenal. She's doing an excellent
hundred and
job.
seventy-six
Would actually be
thousand would-
120 if she was an actual certified BCBA. That's what it would
Just
cost.
a CBA.
through contracted
Through
service.
contracted services.
Just the contractor's gotta make their
That's right.
nickel.
Wait. So can you be a BCBA if you're not certified?
She is in the process. She's this close. So she is supervised by somebody else. And that's helped us out. And I'm telling you right now, probably one of the best I've seen since I've been in the business.
So the question,
It actually helps us out because her supervisor, when she comes in, she helps us out for kind of free.
basically what it shows us though is for if somebody at home, sorry, hold up the wrong thing. Currently, if we paid the person $95,000 and then hypothetically had two-person health insurance and all the other benefits, it would cost the district $138,676.
I gotta know.
And then the current rate that we're paying this individual that we have now is 176. Once they become certified, that probably is gonna go up a little bit more.
And that is only because we're going through contracted services.
Yeah.
That it's that high. If we hire them directly,
Well, the hope
it's
is,
a much lower rate.
we hope, yeah. And what were we know what we were offering before and we weren't getting as many bites or any bites at all on the posting?
It was 80, 85.
So we're hoping with 95 that we're gonna be, a little more people interested. What's the board like to do on that? Are they okay with that? Cause we need to, I think if we give Terry the high sign that we can offer that, I think we can, or if somebody wants to make a motion. Cause again, to me, it's a savings of $30,000+ if we do it.
We know what we pay for that service, but do we know what that person makes?
Oh, no,
Like,
we're not entitled to that, no.
like a ballpark? So you don't know what the going rate is for that position?
Well, I presume the going rate is.
Probably 80, 90,000. Yeah, 85, 90.
He's biting at 85.
Go ahead, Joe.
Oh, I was gonna make a motion, so
Okay, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to increase the BCBA contract. Well, a contract, but yeah.
Well, offer.
The going rate or increasing the rate to 95,000 as it's stated here. Does that make sense?
Not to exceed.
Not to exceed $95,000.
Get a second?
I'll second.
Second by Steve. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. I'll be pounding on the doors tomorrow, Terry. All right, next,
Actually, I was in court today.
Yep.
And our lawyer's wife is a BCBA working in Massachusetts. And I was like, hey, I might have an offer for you and I will be reaching out to you tomorrow. I will tell you a head job. He looked at me and he goes, really? I wouldn't have to pay state taxes because she works in Massachusetts. So it might work all out just like that.
there you go. All right. Next up, green room behavior coach. It's the ISS room for those of us that have been around a little longer.
In school suspension room. Yep.
Go ahead.
We are struggling to find somebody for that room. We're also struggling to find somebody who we want in that room. While I can say there are instances where that student needs to come in and sit down and be quiet and that's it. There are also times too, when we need somebody to come in and actually talk to the student. Again, it's that restorative practice, have conversations with that student. What did you do? Why did this happen? What could you have done better? What led up to this? What can be a plan? The whole gamut of those types of questions. And that would be somewhat like a behavior coach individual that we're doing. We would send this individual to training. We would send them to CPI crisis prevention intervention training. So they get that deregulation to talk a kid down when they're angry. And so we will put them in that room so that also, while yes, it is a consequence and yes, it can be considered a punishment, it is also time to restore so that that student is not accessing that room all the time. So we want somebody with a little bit more skill to do that. And to be quite honest with you too, the kids that come in that room probably aren't the most pleasant individuals to deal with. And so when we're paying them a para rate, they're like, I'm not doing this for $12 an hour. I'm going back upstairs and, I'm done. So that's another instance too, when we get down to the nitty gritty.
Well, that was my question, is how much do we pay this person?
They're a para rate, so as we know, our paras do not make a lot of money. So behavior coach, I think the range is 20, 25, something like that. And they would be wage pool, they wouldn't be in a union. So I've spoken to the RESS and they're all fine with that too. Because they know we need somebody for that room too.
So the idea here would be we'd get a full behavior coach versus a para.
Yep, and we actually have one, we just haven't hired that individual yet. To be honest with you, we were in a good place and I pulled it because we were kind of like, okay, budget wise, I was like, we're hurting. We need to be a little bit cautious of who we're hiring. But as we know, things are a little bit better now. So it's like, okay, but I want this in, it would be a behavior coach, but it's going to be somebody in that green room.
Right.
So the union I had to talk to too. Hey, listen, this is what we're going to do with this person. And they're like, yeah, that sounds like a good plan.
And that would be, they're just based out of that.
Yep.
That's their job, is
Yep.
handle that room.
Yep. And again, if there's nobody in there, they can go across the hallway and help out, sub or do something else. But when somebody is in that room, that's their job. And that green room at the middle school is utilized a little more often in the fact that I got a student in math class. I'm like, I've had enough. Go to the green room. It's not so much as an ISS is that I need a break. You need a break, go to the green room. And so it gives that kid and quite honestly too, that teacher too, a time to process and calm down so that things don't escalate. So that person would be there a lot, most of the time.
Do we need to?
Make life easier, yes.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we add a behavior coach to the green room. Is that the right wording for that?
At the middle school.
At the middle school.
Get a second, Joe, discussion. All right, all those in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, next up. Amendments to warrant article estimated tax impacts. Last night or late yesterday afternoon, I figured out that estimated tax impact on the warrant article, the operating budget is listed at $1.59 and it's actually $1.58, and Marjorie has confirmed that number. And the warrant article for the CRF is listed at 6 cents, Article 3, and it's actually 3 cents, correct? And what I asked Terry to do is put this on so that, because what we'll need to do or we should do on Saturday at the deliberative is amend the warrant to update the correct numbers so that the voters see the correct numbers. Whether they stay those numbers, I can't control, but to do our part to inform everybody at that time there was a mistake made and that we need to update it. And that's why we're asking to amend it. But to do that, I thought it was important that the board is in agreement to do so. So that's what I'm asking.
So when do they print the ballots? So we can print it on that.
Well, no, the deliberative session is on Saturday.
All right.
Everything's
Fine, all
posted.
right.
And that's why we'll need to amend it when, for example, I think Joe is doing the operating budget. If we say it's okay to do, he'll ask the moderator to amend the article before even speaking to it. Or he'll have to read the article and then ask to amend it. And if the vote is in favor, then it will be changed from $1.59 to $1.58, which is, I would hope the voters would approve that because that's factually correct. And then Joe would then, once that's passed, then he would speak to the article after that happens. And when I do the CRF, first thing I'll do is I'll read the article as it's printed, and then I'll ask to amend the agenda. The warrant article to get it the correct tax impact increase. But again, for us to do that, I think before the board tries to do it on Saturday, we should be in agreement that that's what we want to do. So that Joe isn't doing this on his own and I'm not doing this on my own. And then the board goes, what are you guys doing? I can get in trouble all by myself without
But it will be,
help.
we'll be able to correct it for the ballot though, right? It will be.
Yes, what would happen is after, if the voters approve it.
Right.
And it doesn't get changed, whatever that would go, the amended would go.
Right.
And if it then gets changed, the amendment would have to change.
Right, so they don't do the ballots till after deliberative.
Correct. Because the deliberative gives everybody, the voters, the chance to amend three if they so desire. Is everybody on board with the consensus? Everybody's okay with us amending those two
Yes.
for the reasons stated? Okay. All right, thank you, everybody. Next up. Committee reports. Everybody,
A wellness committee meeting today.
Oh, my, another one.
There's no free food before you though today, so. No cookies.
No ice cream either now.
Oh, go to the green room.
We went over our wellness, I forget the exact term of it, the wellness reports from the state. We interact with, the wealth. Yeah. So one of the things, we're pretty good at just about everything from high, moderate to, good. The only thing we were moderate or low in was, family engagement. So I asked the question exactly what is considered family engagement? I mean, is it, one of the things we brought up was if we have the Raymond Coalition for Youth Family Fun Night, are we there? Which we are. But I don't know if the principals know that, you know, we're there and that comes towards it. So I don't know how, we don't know exactly how the question was worded. So she's looking into the question to see if did we put that down?
Tasha.
Yes. So one of the things was just making sure the future ones that, you know, if we do that, make sure we put that down.
Putting what we're doing, yeah.
Another thing was maybe putting out a survey.
Before you go on, I'm sorry. What is the state looking for? Family engagement in surrounding wellness or just family engagement in general?
Well, surrounding wellness, but
Okay.
it kind of encompasses everything at the same
Well,
time. I
If you're
mean,
talking about grading, that can be a little unwell for some. I'll tell you that. I've been there, done that.
I think it was more for the, you know, families engaging with each other.
No, that's, I just
Us
didn't know.
getting them to be
Sure.
able to do so certain things. I mean, I'm guessing even, like the pancake breakfast that we have at the elementary school, does that count towards?
I would think so.
Oh, this meal though.
Pancakes?
Would be.
Oh, no, unless they're whole wheat or something.
Oh, I'm sure they are.
Okay, John, I'm just going. Yeah,
French toast sticks.
I know we have French toast taken back. So if-
Tony and I had that for lunch one day.
They were good.
Anyway, go ahead, Joe.
So, just different things like that. We also talked about, we'll have to remind her that we have to get approval from the board to put out a survey about the food. We're doing a food survey later on, about what kids like, don't like, you know, giving them some,
What age level?
everybody. I'm sure there'll be different answers.
No, well, worded questions differently.
Yeah.
And meet your audience.
Yep.
Yep.
So, and what they don't like, you know, changes. And of course, the high school would probably have more say into that. Middle school probably would too, depending on what grade you're in.
No,
Elementary
those elementary school students, yeah,
They might want
Even
breakfast every
Bosco
day in
State.
the elementary school.
there you go.
But, those certain things that we looked at, and that was about it. So,
And Tony, the next meeting is on May 7th at May 8th, 1 o'clock here. Want to put that on calendar?
Might not even be there. I mean, in the sense that committee assignments are
Oh,
Oh.
yeah.
There you
I'm
go.
gonna mark it down tentatively.
Tentative. There you go. Policy committee met like later in January and we went over a number of policies. Some were revisiting policies that the policy committee had revisited early in the year. But those policies have come in before us. I think even some of them came before us tonight. Anybody else with committee report? All right, superintendent's report.
As I mentioned earlier, the high school message went out on grading. The message was shown during RAM. I think it was actually shown the first day of the third quarter. And then Pete also made sure that that went home in his Friday memo, whatever he calls it. I attended the Epping Raymond basketball game. I think it was last Friday. Intense. Boys came from 5 down in the last quarter to get the win. It was a very rough game. The refs, I'll be quiet. I met with the principals to discuss iReady data. Our data is where, and I also showed them Performance Matters. It was a tool that we have here. I don't think they realize that really, I'll take some time, 5-10 minutes to show the board. Sometimes it's hard parts because the kid data comes up and I got to black that out. So I'll show you how to do it and I'll show you what it does. But basically it takes every single assessment the kid's taken and you can filter it, pop it up there and you get a list of the kids in your grade, all the assessments they've taken from iReady to the SAS data, and shows, you know, from green, yellow to red, how that kid's grown, regression, so that you can take a kid and then it's even better in 8th grade because you can look at that kid, how he's progressed from 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade and get a window on how well that student's done. So it's a pretty amazing tool. I'm actually looking to see if we can get, I call it Dibbles, but they Acadians, and see if that can be uploaded too. I'm not sure about that. Then if it can be, it'd be really good for Jessica because it'd be a lot easier for her to look at and her sit teams to see how well kids are doing so they get that second benchmark. I want to thank people who came last night to help me out. I had a fantastic night going to Oyster River last night. I had 4 senior boys who played basketball for me and were students of mine in Barrington, asked me to come to the game. They brought me flowers and stuff because I was their most influential member in their educational, what I want to say, journey so far. They were seniors, so that was nice. I got to see some families and stuff last night too, so thanks for covering for me.
Awesome.
Anything else before
I'm all set.
go ahead, Joe?
Oh, it was a senior night for the basketball team yesterday too.
The senior boys.
Oh, they lost a tough one to Campbell.
I was up here, so I didn't get to see it. And there was,
a tough one to Campbell.
yeah, I saw the beginning of it when they were all coming out with their seniors and Campbell had their seniors come out as well. And it was nice. They had the whole gym all decorated out for it. So very nice.
Nice job.
And you didn't mention it, but the special education recently,
Oh,
you,
yeah, it's this is the thing that's so much the weights. 13-point review and we came out with 0 deficiencies.
if you could just back up and explain,
I'm gonna have to look it up, to be honest with you.
well, no, who does it and what is it?
They does it, they basically pull some IEP files and they go through them and look for discrepancies. And it's my understanding that we had 0 discrepancies on the files that they pulled from this high school. So that's pretty remarkable. And that goes to Angela and Jody for making sure they're following through and getting that work done. And I asked her if that's typical and she didn't lie. It's not here, but we're working on it. And so kudos to the case managers, kudos to the deans, and kudos to Jody, and kudos to Alms, Jody's administrative assistant. The amount of work they've been doing. We just got audited for Medicaid a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. And it was all hands on deck on the special ed department, just to try to find all the files, bills, receipts, and all of that. They had to work hard going through boxes and stuff because stuff just wasn't organized the way it should have been. It is now, but it took some time to get that stuff done. And our billing partner said she felt pretty confident everybody gets dinged. You're just going to get dinged. That's what their job is, but it wasn't going to be as catastrophic as when Jody walked in and not quite visibly white, pale. We're in trouble, but they got it together and found it. And now systems are in place. Alms is working very well to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions, comments for Terry before we go? All right, next up, correspondence or other. Again, just for people at home, our little deliberative session is Saturday morning at 10 o'clock here at the Raymond High School in the cafeteria.
We'll be here at 9:30, is that correct?
We're going to be here in the media center at 9:15 to open so that we can have public input as required by law, unique for the school district, not anybody else. I don't know what it is about that. I don't know. I'll stop before I get myself any more trouble than I am.
Basically, public comment?
No,
No?
we'll actually be in recess during the meeting because it's not a school board meeting in essence. It is the townspeople's meeting.
Oh,
And the moderator is facilitating the meeting for the citizens, and we're there to provide information in essence. But we are in, it's posted, we are in a meeting, but we'll be in recess during that meeting. And then at the end, we'll come out of recess. And if we need to vote on any of the, warrant articles because they were amended, that's what we'll do at that, and then we'll adjourn. But we have to be open for 30 minutes for public input, which is what we did last year. And we
yeah,
were able to get everybody in that wanted to speak.
right. I remember that. It was quite a line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, for those at home, nobody.
I'm gonna say, I don't remember that.
What time can folks show up to start signing up? Because I know everybody has to get
Sign up.
for the,
Public
Deliberate.
comment.
no, yeah.
Whenever they're ready.
No, what time will
Sign.
they start, let folks, no, in the deliberative, people have to sign in and get their voting?
Oh, usually, and again, I don't know what time they do it, but usually I say it's close to 9:45-ish. I mean, that's my guess.
Okay.
But again, people can be in there because usually before we had to do last year, in years past, I would come and I'd be there at 9:15 and I'm in the gym, just I'm not registering to vote. I mean, signing in to vote or anything, but.
Right.
So people are allowed in. It's because the building's open. Our CTV's here.
Do we actually, we don't get a card or anything?
Yes, we do.
We're voting
Yeah, we
citizens.
check in too,
Yeah,
right?
we're registered voters.
Okay, I
So
don't
yeah,
remember
absolutely.
that
Yep.
part.
Yep.
Okay.
So when, we just gotta remember, hopefully to do it before 10 so that because we've got to we'll be up on the stage and trying to make sure we do everything. All right. Anything else? Manifest?
Manifest presented before you tonight, payables $1,129,666. Payroll $492,137.77 for a total of $1,621,803.77. Thank you.
Great. Next up, approval of minutes for January 17th, 2024. I do have a change and I'm pulling it up now.
I'll say while you're pulling it up, that was a combination of the stuff I did, but final render was Jen
Oh,
making sense and making it look really good. I didn't say that before, but she made it look so much better than I had it.
wow.
Yes.
I personally
Must
wanted
have
113 pages or whatever.
136, Joe. I don't
Sorry.
scam.
Oh, we have a couple of select board minutes that are Stephen King novels.
All right, on page 3, the third bullet down from the top, it states, Mr. Harmon asked that it be made clear that if a student takes Algebra 1, they need to take Algebra 2. Actually, what it is it's because of the explorations in Algebra 1A and 1B. That's why it's explorations in Algebra 1A, you need to then the following year take 1B. So what I would suggest is we strike out Algebra and Algebra 2 and insert explorations in Algebra 1A and explorations in Algebra 1B. You all set on that, Jen? That was clear, hopefully.
Original.
Yes. Yeah, it says it right there.
I saw it misspelling
Mentally,
word, but I can't find it.
All right. Any other adjustments or amendments to the? All right. So if we get a motion to approve the minutes of January 17th, 2024 as amended.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of January 24th, January 17th, 2024 as amended.
It's catchy, Joe.
Yeah.
Get a second?
Second.
Second by Tony. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Next up, if we get a motion to go into non-public, please.
I'll make a motion to go non-public session under RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2M.
Second, please.
I'll second.
Second by Tony. Joe? Yeah. Cindy?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Thank you, everybody.